Terry, how is it going today?
It's going well, going well. Feeling relatively energized this time around.
for for those of you who don't know, we've been recording a lot lately, and hopefully you will enjoy that. I will tell you, this is my fourth show of the day, so pretty excited. Terry didn't hear any of that, which is good. I was talking
Oh,
trash about him the whole time,
yeah,
of
I
course.
yanked out the earphone in my ear.
He was just so energized, he had to pull the earphone out. But we've got some good stuff to talk about because Terry will, and this show will probably come out after this happens, but Terry will be going to, well, actually, well, maybe not. It depends on which week you go, I guess, but he will be at MSI soon for League of Legends.
Yeah, I'm planning on going for the knockout stages. I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited to be honest. I'm just worried that it's my first media event. It's my first time actually going to a live esports event. And it's my first time since I've had this job where I'm actually talking to people in real life because everything's been virtual, man.
Oh, I know. And that's the thing is, like, I think this is going to be such a great experience for you. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. This was my idea for a show because um, not only is Terry going to do awesome and we're going to have really cool content coming out for it. If you are a League of Legends fan, you should make sure that you are subscribed right now to the Game House's YouTube channel because there will be some cool interviews coming from our friend Terry here. But,
That's if I
you
don't
know,
butcher them.
oh, you're going to do great. You're going to do great. And part of it is it's like, and one of these days we will give a behind the scenes kind of like look and feel for how it is for media because it is a very different atmosphere. And the reason I wanted to talk to everybody about this today is because it is in-person events for gaming, right? It is something that people have long discussed, since the true birth of esports about what 5, 6, 7 years ago. These in-person events, right? These big things where people gather, and then as soon as we were kind of getting into a groove of esports being a thing and people gathering, COVID hit, and COVID has kind of messed that up. But I wanted to talk to you today about what that experience is like, and kind of and how it is genuinely very different than watching online. Because Terry, you know this, video games are virtual, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for people to say, well, like why? And these are the ones that always get me, the ones that I always find to be funny, right? Why should I watch somebody else play when I can play? Or, you know, it's virtual. Shouldn't you just be watching? How's it different, when than being in person? My answer to those, and then I would love to hear your thoughts on these. The first one is, well, do you watch football?
No.
Well, not for you, but for these people, right, who ask those questions. They'll be like, do you watch football? And they go, well, yeah, I love football. Okay. Well, do you play football? Well, I can. I go out and throw with my kid. Okay, well then you're still watching somebody who's better than you play this game. So that's always the easy answer for that one. But then it's the in-person stuff that does get you because, right, like I think it's a little different than a traditional sport where they're both entertainment, right? But you're not seeing like the physical side of these people doing something necessarily. They're sitting down and they are playing a game. But I will tell you this much. It is more like going to like a great play or a concert or something like that, right? How, my answer would be, how's it different than watching somebody playing a guitar? It isn't. But it's the atmosphere, it's the fandom. And so, you haven't experienced this yet. But you're about to. And in one of the biggest events, probably in the last 5 years. What are you looking forward to? And like, how do you look at this as somebody who's new? Because my obvious bias is because I've been to these events. You have not yet. Am I cracked out of my mind, or I mean, what do you think?
So, like, to be honest, it hasn't really hit me yet. I'm more in the mindset of like I gotta prepare everything I can and just like be as ready as I can. And when I'm in that kind of state, I don't let reality hit me necessarily.
Fair.
Like the other day, like something that like I found interesting was my mom was talking to me because that the MSI event is on it's on the news right now, and people are talking about like, oh, it's all sold out, and like no one can get in at this point because it's all sold out. It's so popular. Like League of Legends in Korea is immensely popular.
Huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
my mom is like, "Are you sure you'll be able to get in?" I'm like, "I'm don't need to buy a ticket." Like,
It's the beauty of a press pass.
yeah. And then at that point, my mom was like, "Well, that's really cool. Like, you're going to this really big." I told her beforehand, like, I'm going to this competitive event, and she didn't really think much of it. But like now that it was on the news, and there's so many, like, it's a legit huge convention center, and like, there's a lot of quote unquote hype surrounding it. Like even in the media, just like normal media in Korea is covering it, and the fact that it's being covered by normal media, they kind of like broke a wall in my mom's mind. We're like, oh, he's actually doing something meaningful in his room this entire time. Like, because a lot of the older generation, they look at gaming, they're like, oh, they're just passing time. They're just doing something like quote unquote useless. My mom doesn't think that way anymore, but that's definitely how she thought when I was growing up. Like, because I
For
would,
sure.
yeah, just playing League of Legends in my room all day instead of doing homework. Like, I mean, everyone's been there, you know, like.
It's the typical gamer experience, and that's what I think is so. Like that's why this event for you, for people in general, like as these events pop up, right? And we've got a lot. We've got the international that's coming up. We've got Valorant is going to have their first in-person events here in Europe, in Copenhagen and Istanbul, coming up later this year. We've got CS:GO majors. We've got the Call of Duty League, which is running around doing stuff. Overwatch League, even for the first time, they had planned mostly home events for a long time. Had to cancel it due to COVID. They just had the Battle of Texas again, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. And then I was at the LCS finals in Houston recently, and I'll tell you, Terry, like for people who don't get it, bringing them to an event like a big one will change their mind instantly because I so when we were in a quick story here when we were um in Houston, there was a guy there who was a gamer and stuff, but he had never done any events, and he was super nice. He had two kids, but he worked for a hospital where he helped to bring stuff for these kids, who were sick. And so he was there to do some interviews and have something that like shows on the TV. And he's like, my goal is to show these parents that like this is a real thing. And even for him, if I remember correctly, like he hadn't been to an event. And I have the video, and I should probably send this to you. But we're at a football stadium, right? Like some of the biggest stadiums in the world, and we're down there and we walk through where the players would normally come onto the field, and you just look up and it's like, oh my god, like this stage is beautiful. There's so many people that are gonna be here, and the atmosphere for these events is just it's something different. Like it feels like you're there for a football game, right? Because people will line up. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Tyler One is like this huge streamer, right? For League of Legends. There was a line of probably, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, 500 to 1,000 people just to get a picture with him. Okay? And there would have been more, but the line was so damn long. So, and then you go into the event, and we had one of the greatest plays in LCS history happen while we were there, where Danny gets this pentakill after stealing the Baron, okay? Which, for those of you who don't know League of Legends, is probably like I'm speaking a different language to you. He killed a big thing and then wiped out the rest of the team when the rest of his team, except for one person, was dead. And I don't think I have heard a place get that loud potentially in my life other than for like a concert, and that's mostly from the music. That's not even from the people. And just the energy and just the drive for these people, being there. 15, I think it was like somewhere between 15 and 20,000 people watching this event. It was like nothing you can ever. Well, you could experience it, but it's like nothing you would have ever expected for gaming. And you're about to step into this in this convention center, right? There's probably going to be 5, 10,000 people there, and people will be like, oh well, NFL stadiums sell out for 100,000 people. Well, yeah, no duh. It's also been around for like 75 years. So what are we talking about? I mean, the already the passion and the growth for this is what's so interesting. And these events, these events, Terry, like I don't know, you've watched them. I think your experience is going to be very different.
I'm very excited. The closest I've actually come to watching like a League of Legends event was back in high school. We had a League of Legends club. We held like a tournament
Nice.
for the high school, and for the finals, they like rented out the auditorium. We could watch on the big screen. And, like there was a slight delay, but it was so hype. It was one of my greatest League of Legends experiences so far. Like
That sounds awesome.
it was very fun to watch, and like my friends were playing. I was like cheering my friends on. They were like Diamond 1 at the time. They're like I and this is about to be a completely different level, like without a doubt. But
Oh, no doubt.
yeah, oh man, like
Well, and that's what I want to know is like, what do you think about this? I mean, like taking that next step into like a big arena, especially like just coming off of COVID and Korea, I know just going through a pretty rough time of COVID. I'm honestly still surprised that they're even allowing people there.
my biggest things, I'm just trying to make sure things are going to go smoothly. Like I'm I'm very excited without a doubt. I'm just thinking about what can go wrong. Like I'm making sure like I mentioned this to you off the podcast, but Korea right now for the media people, we are all required to take PCR tests for COVID. But the situation in Korea for PCR tests is you're not allowed to get a PCR test unless you got positive on 2 rapid tests before that. And because I don't have COVID at the current moment, that means I can't get a PCR test. But then they require the PCR test 48 hours before you go to the venue. But that's a long time to just do nothing. Like,
Yeah, that's a long time to kind of sit there. And I mean, I think that it's good that they're taking
taking
those
these
precautions.
precautions for sure.
Yeah, because like they didn't, for Houston, I don't think. I had just I had it what, like 3 months beforehand, and I had been tested recently, so I was good to go. But there were other people who probably got it, and I mean I think that's kind of a risk that they're taking. But I think that kind of comes back to the fact that well every sport is doing it now. I mean everybody is back in person, and I think for these companies, it's a tough decision to make. But I wonder, because like these live events are some of the only times where they can really sell tickets, where they can really sell merchandise. I mean, you should have seen the LCS finals. I'm probably actually going to have you buy. They always have an exclusive shirt, by the way, that you can only buy in person, generally speaking. I'm pretty sure at least. So I always get one thing. So I'm gonna probably have you buy me an MSI one and
Okay.
send it over.
Okay.
And that would be awesome.
I'll
But
probably
like,
just bring it over when I go.
oh god, I can't wait. We're gonna do this podcast in a couple months here in person. It's gonna be awesome. By the way, we're gonna have a blast. But that's a spoiler for later. But when I just what's gonna be even just like the merch and like they had BMO onesies at this last event, and people were buying them, putting them on, and running around the. I mean, it was just like. Have you ever been to a convention before, like an anime convention or anything like
Yeah,
that?
it's a great
It is.
feeling.
Oh, it's literally. This is how I would describe a gaming event like this. It is a cross between a basketball game, like a playoff type game normally, and a convention. And it's like the two marry and come together and become this incredibly awesome, fun place where people are just loving it. Like, I mean, I don't know. I wanted to talk about this because it is such a it is such a different feeling. And I feel like people just don't understand how like it's not, and you don't have to go to like all these events. But I always encourage people, just go to at least one. Just go to one and try it out and just see if it's for you or not. But um, I think when I look at these major events, right? I look at it as not just an opportunity for the fans to enjoy, but even for the teams. Now we'll see what it's going to be like for you at MSI. I don't know if they're going to have like these big booths and everything else that they'd had, because I believe next week, this coming up week, so I should actually give a date considering when we are recording this. I believe May 19th or 20th is when the Rumble stage will begin. And they're going to start having people there, I believe. If they didn't already. I can't remember. Did they have people yet?
I'm not too sure. I've been watching the games. I've been keeping track with the media stuff. Most of them are just rejecting like interviews at this point. I don't know if they're still in person yet. I'm assuming not.
Okay. Well, regardless, my point is that these teams actually get a chance to gain new fans and to interact with fans. And I think that's the difference with traditional sports. Is like there are still a lot of people who play these games, right, who haven't decided on a team. And since these teams aren't connected to a city, at least yet, Overwatch League and Call of Duty League are. But like for MSI, right? Like it's gonna be to a region essentially, and you're gonna go in there, and I'm sure you guys are gonna be rooting like crazy for T1.
Oh, for sure.
They're gonna be great.
Still undefeated.
But, oh, they're so good. They're so good.
Monsters.
But like they're gonna, you're gonna be there, and it's gonna be like, they might have booths there where these teams will be giving away free merch and stuff, like CLG specifically at the LCS finals. Like their fan base has kind of fallen to the wayside. Like they've really not been good for a while. Well, they were one of the 6 teams at this event, and they saw what Team Liquid did like 3 years ago, and they were really starting to get fans. And they just grabbed a bunch of jerseys and shit, and they just start throwing it to people. And it's like, dude, like, you give somebody a brand new jersey, that's how you're going to make a fan of them. Like, stuff like that. And it's like, these in-person events are great ways of marketing. They're just great all around. And it's a good way to show people, like, how big esports is getting, truly. So, I guess, like, some of my final thoughts are just, like, first off, I want you to hopefully enjoy your time there. I think you'll have a blast. But I'm going to be really interested to see what the differences are with these big events, because there's always the convention part. If there's a T1 jersey, like, yeah, that like maybe you'll get thrown a Faker jersey.
Oh man. Follow him to the bathroom and get that plan for our investment plan.
You just start crying with the jersey in your hand, like, oh my god.
Oh, man. If I ever talk to Faker, I think I will fanboy too hard. That's
probably gonna get the opportunity to, so you better be ready.
Oh man, I don't know. That's gonna be competitive.
We gotta prep him now, guys.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, wait, but they're gonna have a press conference where everybody gets to ask questions. So you will get to ask Faker a question.
Why are you so good?
Faker, can you explain how it seemed like you were falling off, and then you were like, no, just kidding, I'm still better than everybody.
10-year power spike?
Yeah, I know, right? Aging like a fine wine.
For real.
But yeah, I mean, do you have any last thoughts here on just events and their meaning and their significance? We haven't had a toxic take yet this episode, so this might be your time.
Toxic take? Riot done goofed letting, was it like RNG playing with that lower ping? They reset it now, but like literally why even let that happen to begin with? Like if you're talking about competitive,
we all know that.
Yeah, like
we all know the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, we Riot is a Chinese company. A little too toxic.
I mean, you're not exactly
incorrect.
wrong.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a vague line.
Yeah, that's the thing is that's what's going to be. Yeah, I don't think I don't actually think that's too toxic of a take at all. I think and that's the thing is it's like for these events like they're still figuring it out. I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
It's like if you go to these events, don't get upset. I mean, it's like it's like early baseball, basketball, football, right, where they were still figuring out even some of the rules and how they wanted to do these certain things and how to make them more entertaining. So, I think that toxic take fits very well. And if you're somebody who's listening and would like to sponsor Toxic Takes, let us know. You can tell us. But for those of you, and who are watching as well, let us know in the comment section below if you've been to an event, what your experience was like. If you haven't been to an event, is there a reason why? Like what are you waiting for? Is it just that there hasn't been one near you, or hasn't been one in the esport that you like? I'd even encourage you to just go to a random one if it's close to you that's big enough. You may not care much about the esport, but just to experience the fandom and everything, I'm telling you, it's worth it.
On a little bit of an unrelated note, but kind of related, like I've actually been to events in Korea that they hold for League of Legends. Like, Lowell Park had an event where they like opened up the air. It's typically open, but like parts of it are closed off. But they had like an event where I got a free Corki skin there. Plus they had like other merchandise.
What?
They had like these like the
That's
Corgi
cool.
Corki. I got a free version from that. It was really amazing. Some people were coming in cosplay. There were people outside just taking pictures.
Oh,
And
you'll
then
see plenty of cosplay
Oh.
at this event, by the way. So much
man.
cosplay. So
Oh.
much cosplay. And hey, secret to people out there, by the way. If you do a really good cosplay, Riot will like normally pull you aside and like normally give you better seats. Just
Oh,
so
that-
you know.
that's pretty cool.
Just saying. Like it's not like obviously if everybody starts dressing up in like really cool cosplay, they can't do it for everybody. But like I've seen it in the past where they will pull all the cosplayers aside and generally give them better seats because they use them for like different photos and shoots and stuff. So
Makes sense. Makes
um,
sense.
if you want to get your cosplay popular, go to an event. Got a better chance of being on the big screen.
Korea also had they had an arcane event. They had this entire cafe. They were giving out
That
merch.
sounded so cool.
Hold up. Let me show you. I've never shown you this stuff before. Real quick.
Oh, let's go. This is CFAM. This is what we get on this show. Is Terry brings out the cool stuff. And I love the fact, by the way, that Terry just has this like right next to his desk. I love it. Wait, is that the album or is that like a
This
poster?
this was the layout of the cafe. They were just handing these out. I figured I'd keep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then
Okay, so yeah, I had heard about these events. Okay.
they're really
Same
cool.
with the one in New York, I think.
Let me where I don't have all my merch on me, but I just kept these bags around. They're so cute. Like
That I'm moving.
yeah.
So
let
good.
me show
I
you the
love
Fizz
that.
one now. Hold up. Oh man, this got me
this is
all
from
hyped
Mark.
up.
Mark's a big Fizz guy. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I
Holy moly.
asked them if I could have a bag. Like they were
Yeah, okay, the
selling
other
out
bag.
merch. They were selling merch and these came with the merch, but I was like, can I just buy the bag? Like I don't want any of the merchandise. Can I just buy the bag?
Did they give it to you for free?
They just gave it to me for free. I was
I love
willing
that.
to like pay for it, but they're like, no, you can just have it. Like
Yeah, they probably don't have a price point on it, so they
Yeah.
probably like, I don't really know what I could do. Oh yeah, no. I mean, Riot specifically goes all out for their events. I mean, it is just something special. And like, I guess my last anecdotal story would be was still one of the best events and like one of the biggest events I've ever been to was actually the Overwatch League Finals in Philadelphia in 2019. Dude, that place was rocking. I mean, they had Zed come out and like play like a mini concert to start it, and like, yeah, I mean they did the screen was amazing. The stadium was just huge. I mean, there were probably like 40,000 people there. I mean, that was easily one of the biggest ones I've ever been to. Like normally, LCS they'll sell out like 15,000. I think is generally. Overwatch League, I mean, it pulled people. The game is very popular. So, not to make this Overwatch League show number 4, spoiler alert, we did mention Overwatch League. Maybe that's got to be a running gag, for these shows.
everything
Excuse me,
just
from
goes back
here
to
on out.
Overwatch.
Yeah, it's just we touch on Overwatch at least once every episode. I have that on Talking TSM where I talk about Galio at least once an episode normally. Uh,
Why Galio?
I'll explain it off screen. We're
Okay,
probably running
okay,
out of
okay,
time,
okay.
but yeah. So I mean, any final thoughts on events before we kick it?
Like,
He's thinking.
this one might. I'm just gonna talk about it real quick. I don't know how quick I can get it, but like video gaming before and after COVID, like that's been
Mm,
such
yeah,
an interesting thing because video games are virtual. Ever since COVID occurred, like people have been playing more games and people have been recognizing kind of like as a whole how much importance games have, even more
yeah.
so than before. And I think that's such an interesting phenomena that this is gonna sound really weird, but through COVID, I ended up joining the game house. I ended up developing more time into gaming, and that's when I started my career off because the opportunity was there thanks to COVID. And like
Hmm.
even now that the world has adjusted so much, like I'm literally in Korea working a full time job at TGH. That was only possible through COVID initially because things were just remote by nature. So I was open to working remote, and like I think COVID, it. I'm not saying COVID's good, not at all, but through
Hmm.
COVID, the gaming industry has developed in a very interesting way to allow for more remote opportunities. It's changed a lot of careers in general all around the world, but I think specifically for gaming, it kind of helped. Like,
Yeah, I agree genuinely, and I think that this could probably be like a whole episode. Honestly, is COVID's impact on gaming? But I think um, I think it is really interesting because it almost sounds contradictory to us talking about live events, but you know, COVID has I think given us a new appreciation for live events, specifically, you know, because like I remember watching baseball games and there was nobody in the stands, and it was very weird. You know, I mean, even the players, like they can tell, like you know, when we're talking to some, I think it was we were talking to Raz after the LCS finals, and you know, I was like, man, like it's so good to be back in person. You know, good to see you again, all this stuff, and he was like, man, like the crowd was just electric. You know, I mean, you don't understand. I've been to LCS finals where we had only 6 games. You know, where it was 3-0s and 3-0, 3-0, right? And most of the time, people were really disappointed. And since that was our first one back, I don't think people cared. I mean, there was other storylines that I think helped it along too, but people were just like, "I'm just glad to be here," you know. And I think that like you said, I think COVID has given us a new appreciation for that. I don't know when it'll wear off. It'll probably be a couple years, you know, once hopefully COVID has stayed very mild, hopefully. But no, I think that's a great perspective. Yeah, and with that, I think it's time to wrap it up. So,
yep.
um, you know, for my co-host Terrio, I'm Robert Haynes. This has been Gamer Guys Podcast. GG go next, and we'll see you next week.